Ryan,
Tony, and Crystal.
We can't guarantee that you're gonna look great, but if you wanna stay in shape, well, you better hit the gymwits.
That's right, man. Help. Welcome to the Gymwits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic.
And we are the Gymwits.
So every once in a while we do an episode like this where we have a fun, cool interview. But we're going to talk about a few headlines that, some way relate to our philosophy. So the first one that I want to discuss is...
We've never done this. Talk about headlines. I guess so. Yeah.
We've talked about stuff that is sort of in our...
No, you're right. Okay.
In our circle of heads.
Okay.
Our head circle.
That doesn't sound weird.
Well, look, if you didn't mention it, if you never said it, no one would even think that. So you're the one who's causing it to be weird.
To devolve right away, right off the bat.
The instant
devolution. Yeah. All right.
Nice. I think that's what we have to entitle the episode.
Instant devolution. Head circle. Head circle.
It's getting worse every time I say it.
See, I saw that when I initially said, I saw you pause, and you're trying to imagine what a head circle is, and you, chances are you've probably gone through 3 or 4 different iterations of what a head circle is. So I've done my job.
See, this is the magic right here.
We think that.
Yes, the sound of everyone clicking off their podcast at the same time.
Head circle.
So, all right. So the first one is with James Dolan, who is the owner of the Knicks, who are notoriously one of the worst franchises in the NBA over the last. Over the last decades. They haven't won a championship since the early 70s.
Championship. They just have been terrible.
It's been terrible. They were good in the 90s.
You take a winning record.
That, right? Yeah. They're just awful, and they've been worked the wrong way. So basically, Dolan, who owns the Knicks and the Rangers, I don't know if he actually owns Madison Square Garden. Do you know if he owns MSG?
I think so, but
the whole garden and certainly the rights to the television. So yes, he is a billionaire. He's a very wealthy and powerful man,
and an accomplished musician.
Yeah, although I don't know if I would call him accomplished.
I was saying.
Oh yeah, but he does have
facetious.
a band. Yeah. It's,
he was fantasy band camp, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So I guess when you're a billionaire, you can do whatever you want, right? In that context.
Is he a good musician? Honestly, I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm not going to judge. Maybe not. Although for some reason. I don't get this based on who he is. I can't imagine that he's that great. And I know that's completely not, it may not be true that, but I just get this, he seems like a soulless person. So I can't imagine that he's a great musician. So sorry, that's no science there. Just my opinion. And I don't even know. I'm just saying based on what, would come to mind. Yeah. So who knows? But he's leaving He's leaving a game, and a fan shouts at him, "Sell the team," which has sort of been, he's not the first person who's told him there. So instead of with his security force that follows him around, so instead of just walking right into the back room, walking into the locker room or whatever, not the locker room, but just walking into the stadium, his exit, he engages the fan and starts having sort of a verbal confrontation with him. He threatens the fan that he won't be able to come back to a Knicks game anymore. And he even sics security on this guy. I don't know if the guy was escorted out or what happened, but he definitely had a security go to the guy, and we don't know what's going to happen with the fan. And it was on TMZ, caused an uproar. And I'm thinking, why the hell would you engage a fan?
Well, I mean, engaging a fan's fine. It's the
in that way. It's like it rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah,
and he seems like a sort of a narcissist of a person, and so he just couldn't. How many times do celebrities, athletes, famous people have someone say something to them of that nature, and they just walk past them? Yeah. They just brush it. They don't even think about it. But he had to stop and engage this fan. It's just. Yeah. Well, and now he's dealing with the fallback.
There's on one level you do want to engage, but you can engage, but it's a different thing to. Look, if the fan says something really mean or disparaging or really insulting,
even if you walk past. You're a public figure.
I mean, it depends. Yeah, you're a public. No.
Athletes get
What
the
I'm saying.
worst
What I'm saying is this. No. Here's what I'm saying is if let's say he said something racist to a player or something really mean, like you should go kill yourself or something like that, then there is cause to kick the person out. Like okay, so right, so that's there is a limit to where you lose your privileges to attend in that space. Yeah, exactly. That's it. So, but if he says, but yeah, heckling is part of sports. And as a billionaire owner, or if you're a player, a millionaire player, that's just something you deal with. And if you want to engage in banter, talk trash, fine. But the moment that you get aggressive, or you get that defensive, or you threaten to kick someone out if they haven't gone to the level of harassing, then that's ridiculous, and it looks bad on you. And he deserves whatever kind of fallout has come because of that. Because it's not, it's like that. Look, this guy is one of the many people spending a ton of money. Let him say something. Let him say what they want.
He's one of the people that's making you wealthy.
Yeah, exactly.
I just find it so ridiculous that someone in his position would do that. Like I don't know, that maybe look, everyone has a bad day or this or that, but it's like, come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, but in general, that's kind of why I'm not the biggest sports fan. Although I say that, but then I watch tons of movies and TV, and there's because there's a disconnect to me between any athlete or celebrity and people. And I guess it's more present to me when you see it in sports because the fans are there. But just in general, I think that kind of celebrity worship gets out of hand sometimes, and for me that disconnect for the players is kind of like, oh, you guys are nothing, but for the fans, they're just, it's their lives. I think that's too much for me, and so for me, for a while, it's just like and I was gonna say outside of like MMA and boxing now, I kind of stay away, but then we had another situation with an outburst by an MMA fighter as well.
Yeah, of course, and it's got to be Conor McGregor. And this happened in Miami, Florida. He was vacationing in Miami, and he was coming out of a club or something at 5 a.m., something very late, where it's one of those times where nothing good, if you're out and about, there's very little good that can come out of being up and out at that time, and you're probably drunk. And a fan went to take a picture, and Conor McGregor slapped the phone out of his hand and stepped on it and broke the phone, and was arrested and was charged with it. It's like,
so I didn't see it. Why did he do it? What was?
He just didn't want to be. He didn't want to take a picture, have his picture taken.
Yeah, that's a weird. Was the guy in his face, or was it at a distance? Like,
I actually don't know. I should check that out. I was reading, but I don't remember whether it was up close. But the fan,
is there video of it?
No, I don't believe there's a video, but I don't. I don't. What I got from what I read, I don't get the sense that the fan or the guy was being aggressive at all. He was just taking a picture of a world famous celebrity, and McGregor wasn't having it, so he smacked the phone out of his hand. He said, "It's like, you can't do that."
Yeah.
That's Yeah. So I don't remember. I think he was arrested on criminal mischief and property damage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, who does he think he is that he could do that? It's like, and then I guess, look, if you're a celebrity, you don't want to have your picture taken. Do you just deal with it? Do you just accept? Look, I make millions of dollars. I'm in the public eye. Everyone has a phone and a camera. I just have do you see Conor's side of it, or do you think that you have to show once again you have to show restraint? I think
I'm sympathetic to the kind of plight of the celebrity, I guess, where you're always in the public eye, and so there's freedom, doesn't really, the freedom doesn't exist, but you can't go out, you can't go out without attention. You're always going to be conspicuous, and that sucks. It can't be a good feeling. But on the flip side, unless you're kind of infamous, or unless you're known for something that you didn't do, or for something that you had no part in, kind of letting that out to the world, also it comes with the territory. We've known for a very long time that if you're in the public eye, you're going to get attention. You're going to get people wanting to take your picture, autograph,
especially someone like Conor, who wants to be in the public eye.
I think it's different if you're sitting having dinner and somebody, bothers you while you're having dinner. I totally get that, or even if you're on a flight or something, or you're in an airport and somebody walks up to you, I think that's different. if someone's taking a picture, look, they're taking a picture. I think I feel like, look, if you're going to be, you know, you can't take the millions of dollars and then go out at a nightclub and not expect people to take your picture. I think that you know, there is a line there, and again, it's still like it does come with the territory, and so, you know, privacy
what about his
doesn't.
reaction to, you know,
I mean, that's beyond. Like, I think, you know, at worst, you know, you just put your head down, you walk away. You have, you know, you have somebody tell the guy, hey, look, you know, at worst, you say, hey, you know, he's out with his mistress, doesn't want his picture taken, whatever it is. I'm just throwing that. I read something about that, but like, you know, let's delete that from your phone. You know, you do that if at the worst, but just take it, slap it, smack. You know,
although you have to be careful saying that because that's when it really ends up on TV.
No, I read something on the Underground. I really shouldn't have said that because I just read something random that was like that, and I could be totally wrong about that. But you know, that was what angered him. But you know what? I should retract that because I have no idea because I read it like third hand on an MMA forum, so I should shut up about that. But either way, it's like, look, at worst, have the guy have one of your goons like walk over and tell, you know, forcefully request that the guy take, you know, verbally but forcefully request that the guy take the picture off if you really care about it, but don't slap the phone. You know, now he's going to deal with legal issues and he's dealing with enough as it is.
Although I heard that the other thing was settled.
I have no idea.
I read that actually part of his agreement was that in a year he couldn't get into trouble again.
Sure.
But he actually did. But for some reason his lawyers got him out of it, and the other case is settled. It's done.
Okay, well, I mean,
so it's just sort of once again the entitlement of people to think that they could just get away with anything they want. But you know what?
I mean, but they can. You know.
Well, but he can't. He can, but he's going to have to pay for it. This little stunt, whether he cares about the money or not, is going to cost him a lot of money and aggravation, right? He's going to have to pay his lawyers a ton of money to, you know, fix it. I don't know if he's going to have to do any jail time for it, but it's annoying, right, for him. So was it really, you know, if he thinks back, was it really worth it to smack the phone out of the guy's hand?
No, it's not. But for the most part, he'll get out of it with a slap on the wrist.
Oh yeah, but he's going to have to pay for it.
I mean, it's just they play by a different set of rules.
Well, speaking of playing by a different set of rules, the final thing that I wanted to discuss was and for people like people that are our international listeners, there are people that are listening. They're like, wow, like all this stuff is going on in the States. Well, look, I'm sure things go on everywhere, but yes, you know, we get the headlines from the States. You know, at least, well, we get some all over the world, but those are the ones that are you know, sort of pop culture friendly. Mm-hmm. So the last one for today is there are a bunch of Hollywood actors and actresses that have basically paid everyone and anyone to get their kids into very good colleges. So they paid someone to facilitate having someone else take a test, I guess ATs, for the kids. Yeah. So they test proctors were paid off. Coaches from certain schools for lesser known sports were paid to say that the students that were coming to the school were athletes, right, in whatever sort of lesser-known sport, right, to help their acceptance into the school. And some of the, they paid a lot of money for their kids to help get them into the school. And I think it really rubs people the wrong way because you have regular people that are struggling to put their kid that can bear, you know, maybe sometimes can't afford to put their kids into a college, right? The kid might have to go take out loans and go into, you know, tremendous debt, and then you have these Hollywood actors that are paying their already privileged children to go to schools. And I remember one actor, the daughter of one actress that had been paid or helped to get into the school, basically even sent out a tweet saying, "I don't even really, you know, college isn't even for me. I just want to go for the fun and the parties and whatnot." So. Yeah. And that annoyed people. It's like, okay, so your parents have just paid, you know, maybe $500,000 to get you into the school, and that's your tweet. While there are people struggling and kids that would, you know, could really want to go to college that could really use it, and then this happens.
Yeah, no, it sucks. I mean, it just shows, you know, like people rich play by a different set of rules. Because on top of that,
Now people are getting arrested. The FBI is involved.
Good. Well, and I hope they deal with they really deal with consequences, because I think it as it is, if you're wealthy, your kids are at a significant advantage. It's just because of how competitive these schools are between the testing and, like, just think, when we went to school, like we both like took the specialized high school tests, and now when we were in school, like our parents sent us to like a 2-week course or something to do better on those tests or the SATs. But now they're doing this years in advance, they're studying. And so kids who come from means have a huge leg up right off the bat when it comes to getting into the schools that they want. And so now you have a situation where not only do they have that leg up just legally and on the board because they've got more money, but now they're just outright cheating to get in. That it's just awful. But that's a part of the issue, with our just society now, that there is this disparity between the haves and the have-nots.
And not even the haves and the have. I mean, it is the haves and the have-nots, and it's the have and the have. The haves,
yeah, exactly. And I think if you have means, like, you can really get away with murder in this
pretty
country.
much.
And
we've seen
it's a problem. And and I'm lucky, that I grew up where I grew up and had the family. But like, people have just have to work so much harder. But even with these colleges, like legacy admissions, right? Like if you go like Harvard or Yale or Stanford, in any of these colleges, legacy admissions, so people whose parents went there, they get accepted at a much higher rate than average. And why? Same idea. It's just, again, on the board. So I think it's all an issue that that we kind of have to face and admit to. And why kind of I am where I am and feel the way I feel politically, because I just feel like this whole system is just rigged to help, if you have means, and especially if you have a lot, like it is so far rigged in your favor that we need to kind of pull things back to just give other people an opportunity, or give people an opportunity. And it sucks, but
it's interesting that theoretically I'm actually could sort of fall into a libertarian idea. Like I would not believe in affirmative action if there was an equal playing field, but there is not an equal playing field. So that's why I do favor affirmative action, because there's not an equal playing field. Yeah. Should there be social ideas on economics, right? Should the government get involved? Theoretically, no. If the economy could regulate itself by the workforce and the labor, that would do the trick. I would be all in favor of that. But we see that it can't happen in reality.
No, it doesn't.
So theoretically,
but we've been sold some bullshit, basically. I mean, you look at like the way economics has been taught for a long time. Like, we've really been sold some crap, and we still buy into it, and people kind of buy into that. But really, like, no, this system is rigged. This has nothing to do with fitness, obviously, but I'm sure we could find a way to relate it. But it's so, because theoretically, I'm the same way. I think I would say, just in theory, I'm more libertarian. Like, everybody kind of I think everyone should have opportunities, and everybody should kind of start at the same place. And then if you work hard, great. If you're talented, great. But I think we're just in a place where people, like, some people are just so far ahead that it's not fair, and the system as it isn't working. Like, our economic system doesn't work, and the rich get richer, and we seem to, I think the way the media would talk about it, it's like you wouldn't know that there are alternatives, and not that I'm like I would ever want a purely socialist system, right? But like, I do think that we capitalism's great, but there needs to be a safety net, and there needs to be a system in place that really allows people to thrive and gives people an opportunity, and it doesn't. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need affirmative action, and we wouldn't need a really huge social safety net. But unfortunately, we live in a system that you do need things like that. You do need things in place, because if you don't have those checks in place, if you do deregulate, we see, even with the whole with the tax, like the tax break that the rich got, right?
Yeah.
What's the narrative? Oh, trickle down economics. You give them a tax break, they get all this money, and they're going to hire more workers. It increases price, it increases wages, and that's crap. Like the wages didn't go up. What happened? All those companies went and it went into stock buybacks. It went back into their own companies. Many are still laying people off. It doesn't work that way, and you need those reg checks because bad actors will act badly, and even if most people are behave good and most people are well intentioned, like this just doesn't. There are the few that won't, and unfortunately, the ones that won't often are the ones with power, and they're doing whatever they can to maintain their power, and so they just screw over the little guy.
So, and the last thing, which I haven't gotten your opinion on, but what do you think of the whole Smollett thing? What he did.
It's a few weeks now. It's funny how these news cycles change so quickly.
And we've immediately forgotten about that.
Yeah, look, it was dumb. Obviously, I think we're in a situation where hate speech and hate crimes are increasing, right? Like we see anti-Semitism is on the rise. We see, racist crimes on the rise. We see kind of bigotry towards gays and lesbians and trans people is on the rise. And a situation like that, what's frustrating is it allows the people, you're going to have some people who are kind of like, who are like, I would say honestly, they're earnest in that they think that it's not as bad as let's say we say or I say things are. So and then you have some that are just bad actors and they just kind of they don't care. And so what happens is it's kind of like God, I'm getting on this tangent. But so the example I have is like with like Me Too, right? So you have like if you look at the statistics, like, and I'm going to butcher not butcher it too much, but let's say for 100 rapes, or 100 sexual assaults. For every 100, there's going to be, let's say, one out of that 100.
Pretty much one.
Right? Okay, so one out of that 100 is a false accusation,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And then also out of that 100, a significant amount just goes unreported, right? So what happens is the people will focus in on the one that's false. They focus on that and just use that so much that it gets magnified, and all of a sudden you start thinking, oh well, what about all false accusations? And it's a situation where people then and I know a couple who they're more concerned with the really really minuscule percentage of false accusations, and it might even be less than 1%, but whatever it is, it's minuscule compared very, very to the amount that are real, and they outweigh that. And so in the case of Smollett, what really sucks about that is that it got a ton of attention as a real hate crime, right? And then it comes out that he made it up. So what happens is the narrative then changes to look like, what are we going to do? What about all these false accusations? And then the media can then picks up on a couple of other false accusations. And again, yeah, sure, false accusations happen all the time with different things, but if you look at it, if you scale it, then the real thing happens far more often, and the real thing is the real issue. So I think what really bothers me about that is that, as a person, he's a person of color and he's gay, he sets things back because you really, when you're fighting against kind of people who often are trying to be disingenuous and are often to me against, are on the wrong side, you give them ammo. Here's a live ammunition for them to throw it at the other side, saying, look at this false accusation. Look at this. This is what happens. And so it changes the narrative from what's really going on to that. And that's what I think really is the harm that's done.
So question,
in a
do you think he'll
situation
ever work again in Hollywood?
Sure, he'll work. I mean,
think so?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is, in fact, at the end of the day, he's. I think the other thing that bugs me a little bit is like, you got a situation like Manafort who was, I mean,
we're going
there. Look,
we're going there.
Look, you had a situation where he got 4 years for something that they recommended 20 years, and he did some horrible stuff. So you had a situation like that where he gets a lenient sentence, and they're throwing the book at him. No, look, he did something bad, and he deserves to be prosecuted, and he just probably deserves some jail time, and it was not a good thing, right? He deserves it. But I think if you weigh it, we live in a system where certain people get more consequences for their act. You'll get a guy that sold some weed in a parking lot, and he's going to get 10 to 10 to 20 years, and then you get some guy like, who commits financial crimes and doesn't get anything. Or you get a situation like with the recent, with the 2008 crash where nobody went to jail for any of that. And so it's like, I think again, it's weighed in the wrong favor for a lot of things. So again, we've probably gone in and I think it's funny because we talk a lot about how we stay away from politics. We try to, but I've gotten.
I don't think we haven't made it too.
We don't, but I think I've also gotten to the point where, look, I don't, I'm gonna, my opinion's my opinion, and that's it. And I have friends that don't agree with me, and we get into kind of healthy debates about stuff. And if you can kind of honestly debate this stuff, great. And if you can't, then too bad. And we'll do a little kind of trigger warning at the head of this podcast, so if you let people know, like, hey, it's a little political talk, but I like to think I'm reasonable with a lot of this stuff. But
when you were mentioning about the whole jail thing, I was looking up his name, trying to remember his name. His name is Aaron Schwartz, and he was a brilliant man. He created Reddit and a whole slew of other projects. He's actually amazing. He was a young man, and he fought for lots of rights to information, and he basically changed Congress. He was maybe you guys don't know about him, but there's a couple documentaries made about him. He was a brilliant person, and he believed in freedom of information. He didn't want to he didn't want to. It wasn't like he was anti-writers and copyright, but he just believed in the flow of information, and that's how you can help to cure cancer, come up with better medications, better machine, better computer, better machines, right? Stuff like that. He believed in the flow of information, and he was able to get that to happen. And basically, I remember the CIA or the FBI, probably the FBI. They went after him, and he was federal. Basically, he was stealing literary journals and stuff online from a college, basically MIT or something like that. He was basically downloading them without really paying for them or something like that. Downloading them illegally, right? A download of a literary of a journal, right? And they basically were going to throw him in jail. They threatened to throw him in jail for 35 years for that. For downloading literary journals. And it's meanwhile people, murderers get off in less time than that. And so he wound up killing himself. And the world lost a person who could have done so much because they needed to make an example of this one kid for
But don't just say murder. It's like just rich murderers get, like there's definitely a class thing, like where often,
rich murderers. But any murder, there's murderers that have spent 20 years in jail have gotten off. That's less than 35 years. 8 years in jail and have gotten off, right, for whatever reason. So certainly the people that are rich have a better chance. But it's just they wanted to make an example. So that just reminded me of what you were saying. The ludicrous nature of how we prosecute. Don't get us started on the whole prison system. That's
luckily.
That's another headline about that, which was a Law and Order SVU episode about the judge that took bribes to put kids in the juvenile detention center by the thing, right? I think that just got settled.
I think so. But no, I mean that's a whole other issue.
We could go. We could talk about this sort of stuff.
We could go along. Forever. Let's quit while we're ahead.
We're crusaders for justice.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we got an interview. Imagine being on the front end of or on the back end of this rant. Hopefully Dom is okay with it. Would have been interesting to talk to him about some of this. Anyway, yes, we had an interview with Dom Jackson. He's a fitness trainer, somebody who's got some great ideas. We had a really fun chat. We were on his podcast a while back, and had a fun interview with Dom. So without further ado, here's our interview with Dom Jackson.
Hey everyone, we are here with fellow podcaster and personal trainer Dom Jackson. What's going on, man? How's everything?
Fellas, thank you so much for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Absolutely. Now, if you guys are really up to date... Oh, wait, have we released the interview yet?
What interview?
So, recently we were on Dom's podcast.
Yeah.
So, have we released that one yet? Has that one gone out?
Well, that's Dom's podcast. It's not us. So
yeah,
it's out.
I can send you guys the files, though, if you want to release it on yours, too.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, and...
Have you released that one yet?
Yeah, it's been out.
Yeah.
It's been out for couple weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
Justin.
Oh, that's right. And you sent it. You sent the text.
Yeah.
That's how discombobulated I am.
I know, man.
Right.
I knew you would do it
Brian's
to you.
looking at me,
Yeah.
he's like, "Are you crazy?" That's right.
Yeah.
We did talk about releasing. Oh, we could do that.
Well, no, I'd rather send like so. While we're at it, what's the name of your podcast? So
My
people listen to check it
my
out.
podcast is called the Fitness Fundamentals Podcast.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll get to that a little bit because I'd love to get any kind of fellow podcasters. I kind of want to know what made you start, how you got into it, and your kind of experience. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But with any guest, kind of the first thing we want to know, kind of before your kind of fitness career or professional career, were you an athlete growing up? Like, what were you into sports? Kind of give us a little bit of your own kind of personal exercise, sports, fitness background.
Oh, this is good. So, as a child, I was like a nerdier kid growing up. Which nothing wrong with being a nerd, but like a lot of video games, kind of stayed inside, and I grew up in the Bronx in New York, and I moved to South Jersey in 2007 because I was getting in trouble in the city, and going out there, like I didn't really know so many people, and like one of my good friends coming into there was like, "Yo, man, you should try out for the football team because we're going to do it," and I went to high school, like never playing a sport in my entire life, like even when I played basketball at the park, I kind of just BS the whole time. But I went there and I went to go play. That's my first time ever doing anything really active. And I went there and played football on the football team. And, I was about as good as you can be as the first time playing anything your entire life. A big walking ball of uncoordination and mischievous. But I enjoyed it a lot. Just learning the one thing I really enjoyed about being part of joining that team was learning about like the camaraderie and like the brotherhood of being part of a team, having people encourage you and push you and things. So me as an athlete was complete shit. Like no one was looking at me. The fact that I'm even a trainer now is actually hilarious because like, if you want to just think about the most uncoordinated person, I basically fit that description.
Actually, that's Justin's pretty close to that. Actually. Actually, growing up, he was always like, he could do things well. He just looked terrible doing it. Like, we played baseball growing up. He could hit. He was like the best hitter on our team, like in Little League, but he just looked awful doing it. It was like a good defensive player, but just looked bad doing it. So.
Yeah, Justin, I definitely feel you on that part. Like on all types of levels, I feel you on that, dude. But that is when I learned about like the training wise in sports, and that's when I actually started lifting. And it was lifting that kind of got me into the process of becoming more active and caring about my health. Back then it was bench every single day. Like, how much do you bench? Can you bench this? Can you bench that? It was bench. But as, I matured, I learned there's about more important things than just how big your chest is and how much weight you're putting up. But that's basically my high school football team was where my like fitness, hurrah, inspiration, passion came from.
Oftentimes you need something like that. For me, Ryan and I started. Well, we always played a lot of sports. I was never very good at it, and I was never very good at it. But I did it for fun. When I joined the wrestling team in high school, that's when I started really getting and understanding fitness. Rather, Ryan and I were going to the gym at some point, but as you mentioned, it was all about how much can we lift, how much can you bend, how much can you do this. Like, and I guess that you need that to get started, but you start especially when you get into more fitness and athletics, that's not everything.
Now, what about it was like? Where did the passion come from? Was it the actual act of exercising? Was it how you looked afterwards? Like, what kept you going? Let's say after high school and after football.
A couple different things, I guess. Well, obviously, coming in, the feeling of getting in better shape always feels good. Seeing you can progress from this stage to the next stage. I've got this much more weight on, or I did this much faster. Like the self growth in it is amazing. But then, like you're in high school and you're like, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting more attention from girls. I'm not gonna stop this. And so from the health benefits to just like the aesthetics to the feeling of feeling better overall, like confidence wise, was definitely like a big factor for me. And I met like most of my closest and best friends are people that I ended up working out with or worked out with continuously. And it was actually like within that stage between that graduating high school stage, I didn't have a gym membership. And after that, a good friend of mine got me into like the calisthenics workouts, so like the bar stars, bartenders kind of workouts, like the park workout kind of things, all pull-ups, muscle-ups, handstands, and all that stuff. That's where like that's like the next level that really took me into becoming more of a trainer, because me and my good friend Greg, we started this. It was like I guess a workout group, and we called ourselves Free Body Fitness because we were here to free you from your excuses, because we were working out at a park, and we were there to work out ourselves, but we invited people that were with us. So like anyone we knew you wanted to come work out with us for free at the park, and we'll just do our thing. And we were just having fun. It was like all of us getting people that we graduated with to work out together, and that was like, I guess when I knew like it was a passion point, because like I was just doing this to have fun after work or before work, and it kind of just stuck from there.
Yeah. So now, how did you get into fitness as a career? Like, where did you make that jump or that transition?
Well, while we had the free body thing at the park, people kept asking me questions like, how do I do this? Or what's this? How do I do this? And there's so many different things that when you're put in that position as it just being a passion, you don't really think about it from someone that can't do it. So to learn from it being just me learning to do it for myself, to me be able to teach it to someone else, I was like, all right, I'm going to need some kind of training certification or something to help me figure out the next step. And that's why I went to NASM to get my personal training certification through NASM.
So I guess that brings us into the next sort of natural progression of this line of discussion is what do you see as the value in a trainer, especially today where you have so many online resources, like these online trainers. Now you see these pieces of fitness equipment being advertised that link you right into a class that's going on, and all of these these apps and these programs. Where's the value in still having that trainer face to face, or maybe even if it's just someone who, even if you're working online with someone, knowing someone personally?
I believe that that's a good question. I think one of the biggest things that basically, so just to bring things back full circle, my podcast is based off taking the fear out of fitness. And the reason that it's based off that is because after being around people that with different levels of fitness, training them as a trainer or working out with people as a friend, I just learned that people have a lot of fear and stigma towards fitness that doesn't always make sense. They could have been the fat kid in school or got kicked out of gym class one day, and they always have that fear associated with fitness regardless. No matter what stage they are in their life, how whatever fitness approached them at that certain point in their life gave them a bad feeling with it forever. And I think as a trainer, having that physical personal trainer with you, or that coach or whatever that person is, having another human being be that that bridge between fitness being the worst thing of all time and fitness being something that is going to help you with your life, whether it be for actual health reasons or for stress or for fun. Having a person represent that bridge, that person you crossing to the other side with, I think it's a humongous impact. And that's the biggest thing I love about doing what I do. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm curious, what if, you always like to hear things like this, what if some of your clients said to you about bridging that, or bridging that gap, getting rid of the fear?
Okay. So most of my clientele, I'm a general population trainer. So everyone who I typically train is someone that is, they're still like a person like you and me. So they're not paid to be active as opposed to an athlete or such and such. So they're coming in from their job, or they're in college, or whatever it is that they're whatever they're going to do. Fitness does not have to be in their life, but they want to get healthier, or they want to look good for a wedding, or whatever their reason is. So a lot of times people that come see me have never worked out before, never been active before. They came from the couch, something happened, they saw a thing on Instagram, I need a trainer. They came in, I met them, we sat and talked, we're doing the thing. So a lot of times, just when my very first like gym I worked at, I had a lot of clients come in that would not do anything but cardio when they came into the gym. Like the way most gyms are set up, the way my gym was set up is that on the far left side of the gym was all the cardio machines, ellipticals, treadmills, all that stuff, and the other side was like the barbells, the free weights, the other machines. So I had a whole section of people that would not leave that cardio side of the gym when they came into the gym without either being with me or without, they just wouldn't do it. Like you would have to hold, if you held a gun to their head, I don't think they would go to the other side of the gym. Yes, so much gym intimidation, exactly. And at first starting off with me bringing them out there, okay, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. All right, they're like, all right, cool. Like with you, I'm cool. Like I feel good. I got this. But then it was like, all right, I want you to do this workout on your own today. Because like I'm not training you today, so it's your day off. But I want you to go do something else in the gym that will follow the rest of your program. And they'll tell me, I went to the gym, I got scared, I couldn't do it. The big guys were there, or the beautiful chicks were there. Whoever that gym intimidation person is there getting in their way.
And it's funny because from my experience, like the big dudes at the gym, right, that you want to see people working out, right? I don't think I have ever had an experience where there was maybe there was one guy that annoyed me once. I'll quickly tell that story, but for the most part, the big guys at the gym, they encourage new lifters to come in. They want to see that. The one time that annoyed me is that Ryan and I were doing fairly heavy squats, and we were maybe 17 at the time, and we were using
the sponge thingy.
And there was this one guy. This was way back at Dolphin Fitness, and this one guy's like, "Oh, that's for pussies," and I'm like, you know what? You couldn't even come close to hanging with a fraction of a wrestling workout. So don't you're talking right now, right? You couldn't hang for more than 10 minutes. So just shut your mouth right now. I don't I'm still learning the technique, and it's better this way. So that annoyed me, but that was really the only time I ever had anything like that happen. So I always just found that weird.
I do too, and that's one of the things that like. Oftentimes, the people that I'm discovering just through my job is that people, like most of the time, even when you're like when we go out, when you guys go to the gym now to work out, most of the time you're not even worried about anybody else. You're just worried about what you want to work and what machine is free or what weight is free, and you're trying to do your own thing. Half the time when you're in the gym, most people in there are just doing their own thing. Like they don't give a crap about anyone else. It's probably the most like I really don't give a fuck about you place in general. But people that don't know, never been to the other side, don't think about it. They're so in their own head. They're like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. Everyone cares about what I'm doing. If I make one mistake, the entire gym is going to laugh at me and point at me and tell me to leave and tell me I'm a fat loser. Like that's the story that I've gotten from people in their head. And it's just so interesting to me that like there can be so much like that you have so much control over what or how you have so much control of how you perceive things, because most like I've been in the same spot that like I've seen my clients have when I like watch them from afar in the gym, and they still have that frantic, scared mindset. But as they condition themselves to coming in there more and more, they end up being better and more confident. Actually, I have a great story of someone who actually went through this process with me. So I had this client. She was like a skinnier girl. She was trying to get a bigger butt, she was trying to look good for the gram. And so she wasn't like she was like ridiculously overweight or anything. Like if you looked at her, you wouldn't think like, oh, this person shouldn't be in the gym, because they wouldn't like she wouldn't be the first person someone would attack for their physical appearance. And but she was still terrified of the gym because she didn't know what to do. She was scared of being judged. She was like, whatever other gym fear she had. So when she went on the floor with me, obviously, we worked out together, and like she had no problem with me. So the way I did, so the cardio spot was the spot everyone went to, and I segmented the rest of the gym to her in like little different regions, like 4 different regions. So there was like the dumbbell region, there was the ab mat region, there was like the barbell section in the back. And I told her, all right, so out of these 3 regions, since you are so terrified of the whole gym, I don't want you to go in the whole gym. I don't even want you to even think about the whole gym. We're going to take this small step by step. So first day, just do cardio by yourself. Go to the cardio deck. All right, cool. She did that for 2 weeks, was cool in the cardio section, wasn't scary to her. The next section was like where the ab stuff was. So go to the ab mat, just go stretch, do your thing, whatever, zen out, yoga, play some music. Don't worry about anyone else. Just get used to being in that space. And following that same progression of just going to different spots throughout the gym and then just repeatedly going there, habitually going there, and then just doing things that she already knew how to do, eventually got her the confidence to go there and work out on her own. So then she could actually do her full program. And like that whole mental aspect of just trying to get you in the game, just to get you in there is such an interesting concept. But like the steps of getting that gym intimidation broken down into like little things definitely helps people out a lot.
So I guess some of what you answered already might tie in, but kind of what's your own like fitness philosophy? Like how do you think about approaching, I guess, fitness with clients? Like what's the mindset you take with anybody, and how do you kind of take us through your approach with a new client?
So I always have to rate like someone's mental state first. Because some people come in and like I said, people are scared, or people come in that are already ready to work. If you come in like you already go to the gym, you're already consistently working out, you just need like structure, then I'm like, all right, cool. Then we can go from, all right, how do we want? So I'm big on mobility. Like if you come in with the right mindset, you can just work. Like you can just come and just get your exercise in. All you need me to do is give you the program, then I'm in. So I'll do like your mobility first. I assess. I do like the overhead squat assessment and some of the other squat assessments to see where your movement compensations patterns are. So let's say like if you're doing a squat and your knees buckle in, I'll give you more work to do to like engage your glutes more or strengthen your adductors so that when you have proper form based on what you're doing throughout your like daily life. So I also consider what your like career-wise what you do. So people that do work desk jobs or people that stand a lot, I make sure they have like corrective exercises they do before they train with me, just so that all the constant strain they're putting on their self through their career, it will be lessened by training with me. So like I fix corrective stuff in the beginning. After that, compound exercises, if they're ready for that, depending on who they are. So like your back squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, if they're at that level. If not, I'll do some kind of dumbbell regression of it. So like goblet squat, goblet deadlift, same concept over and over again. And then I guess it all goes on a person to person basis. What how would you like me to answer this question, Ben? I'm trying to think of what other ways I can specify, because I do kind of person to person basis. Yeah. But everything I do, like I like.
That's what it always comes down to. Like Ryan's like, what? Like every time someone writes in or asks a question, it's always like, well, you general information, but it's always
No, that answers it. Now, I guess my question for you then, often, as I'm sure you've seen, clients kind of their goals are often misaligned with reality. So how do you deal with that? Like, if you have a client that kind of has a goal that you're like, okay, knowing your lifestyle, knowing your work situation, knowing just from experience, this is probably not the right goal. What's your approach? Do you try to realign the goal? Do you try to reset the goals? Do you just go with it and how do you approach that when you have somebody who's got kind of just misaligned goals with their expectations and reality are just not near the same place?
Yeah, this is definitely a very big thing, very big issue with a lot of people that I train, because they just don't know when they come into it. So when that first like initial assessment comes in of me like getting to know you and see who you are, I try to educate you as much as possible, because my like goal for you training with me is for you not to train with me forever. Like I want you to train with me because like I'm me. I don't know who else is out there. If you're gonna come to a trainer, you should come to me because like I know I got your back. But then I have to see. I'm in the process of making up like a rating system for people that come in with me, just so I can have it a little more standardized. But I definitely would base it off what their goal is. So are they trying to lose body fat? Are they trying to gain muscle? Then what their time frame is. So like if you're trying to get ready for a wedding, which is like a wedding in 3 months, wedding in a year, wedding in this many weeks. And then it's like their current set of habits. So what are you doing? What are you doing for your life daily? What activities are you doing? Then like when you eating, what time frame are you eating at? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? Like what are your vices? What things do you do that like won't help with our progress? From there, let's say someone comes in and she's like, I'm trying to get ready for a wedding. I have 12 weeks. I'm already tracking on my Fitness Pal, and like I've worked out a couple times, but I just need more help. Then I'm like, all right, cool. This is someone who's relatively easy. I can just train you. That's going to be it, because you're already tracking your food. So I can tell you, okay, well, we can go about this, eating, upping your water intake, eating more lean protein, eating, more micronutrient dense foods. We're going to do this many exercises, work out this many times a week. Or someone else can come in and be like, I never did anything in my entire life. Someone else will come in and be like, I never worked out in my entire life. I drink 3 liters of soda every day. I sit at a desk job and I can't even feel my toes. That person's totally different. So I have to think about, okay, how can we cut back on the soda? How can we swap that soda? Can we turn 3 bottles to 2 bottles? Can we work on doing little things throughout the house? For instance, I try to give my clients that don't have a gym to go to like homework. So if your plank is something that you're not strong at currently, then I'm having you do planks for homework twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what your schedule is like, just to do that. If your squat's an issue, every time you sit on a chair or like go to the bathroom, I want you doing 5 squats onto the chair, just to practice that hinging the hip motion and standing back up. There's definitely a lot of different ways I approach it. I'm trying to figure out how to give like the most practical stuff that's still very not too specific, but
it's a great idea. It's like, when you're gonna go take a deuce, do a bunch of squats, right?
Yeah,
or do it properly, right? It's because everyone's got to do it, so, and you'll think about it every time, and those little things add up for sure.
They do.
It's a great idea. So I'm wondering something. How do you deal with what I call phase number B? So, phase number B is the inevitable for most people working out, especially with the trainer or on their own, and it's when the honeymoon's over. Basically, they're really into their workouts, and they lift, and they really go for it, and then after a month or 2 or whatever it is, they're like, oh, wait a minute, now my initial, maybe I'm plateauing, or my initial, these awesome effects have worn off, and now it turns into work, and it's not just fun anymore. So how do you help clients deal with that phase?
Oh yeah, this is a great question, because phase B is definitely a huge thing. So I'll give a couple examples, because it's still like very person to person basis. But for some people like it depends on the person's goals and the person's attitude. Like I have some people that are like, I got what I wanted. The wedding came, like I'm good. So it's just about maintenance at that point. All right, so we'll just keep things the same, and then so it's better for me to keep you on the same track as you are right now, and then just have life throw little things along the way and kind of see how you adapt to that. That's like one way of doing it. Other people, I also have done some Spartan races, so I'll try to encourage them to do something along those lines. All right, have you tried a marathon? Maybe you like powerlifting. Maybe you like this. Maybe you like, yes, I up the intensity. Um, Other ones, I would sometimes if people have similar like fitness levels and similar attitudes, I'll bring someone else that I train with them. So like I'll add like a new friend like relationship building process with them. Um, Sometimes the people just leave me and they're like, all right, like I got what I wanted, I'm out. So that happens too. But phase B is definitely takes a little more creativity to get that person to change. But as long as but yeah, it's usually like intensity or like a whole new set of goals is completely different from what you were doing before. Um, or like just let you keep doing what you're doing and then eventually something will come that'll make you want to change it. But all that kind of comes back to that initial part of building that relationship with that person so that they feel that you can map what's best for them. Because, you know, your health is like a big thing for you to just trust with some random dude. Like, I'm a great guy, but, you know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. So tell us about the podcast. Like, what made you decide, I'm going to start a podcast? Like, are you a big listener? Or are you is it just something you kind of thought you got to do? You got to get that out? Like, what was the impetus to kind of get going with the podcast?
A couple of different things. I do listen to a lot of podcasts. Like, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan's podcast, Joe Budden's podcast. Like, I listen to a lot of other podcasts that aren't even fitness ones. Like,
what would you say are your top 5 podcasts, out of curiosity?
This is tough. Oh, man. Oof.
Or if not, what are the 5 that come to mind? Like when you're thinking, like, what are my favorite podcasts?
I'm trying to think right now.
Okay.
I'm like this because I listen to a good amount of them. I listen to Strength Coach sometimes. I like Mike Rose, The Way I Heard It. I definitely like Joe Rogan's. Gary Vee Audio Experience, like I said. I love the Joe Budden podcast. It's for sheer entertainment. I like you guys' podcast too. Oh yeah, you guys. Well, obviously you guys. But I don't know if you guys want me brown nosing just yet. Damn, that's tough. All right, well, anyway, like I listened to enough podcasts and I was like, wow, this is fun. Like this seems like something I could do.
Yeah.
Ironically, like I wanted to start in January 2018, but I just bullshitted, didn't start until September 2018. I didn't have a good reason not to do it either. Just like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You know, the same way the new year, new me kicks in.
Yeah.
But the good news is that I'm glad I actually did it.
Yeah. What's your experience been so far? Like, anything, having done it for a few months, are there things that you would have done differently? Are there things that, like, what have you learned? Or, yeah, just kind of what comes to mind as far as, like, you know, being a kind of new podcaster and getting into this crazy world?
Well, the process itself of podcasting was very interesting to me because I had a lot of stress in my head of wondering what to push out and what kind of content to make. For instance, did I want to have it be me by myself? Did I want to interview people? Did I want to have like a co-host and not co-host? And a lot of these factors kind of kept me in my head as opposed to taking action, which, just to bring things back full circle, like I was afraid to leave that next part of the gym because like there was so many things holding me back in my own head. And once I got past it, I was like, all right, I'm just going to do it. I just kind of just started doing things and just seeing what stuck and what I liked. And within that time period, just figuring out how to ask good questions, like the process of interviewing someone, then like the process of figuring out people to interview, the scheduling aspect of it, then like trying to figure out who I want and then like who I don't want. Because for a while, I was ready to be like rapid fire. It's like bam, 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 like anyone can get on here. But I started to think about that and I was like, what this podcast is about and what I want to have it be like privy to. I don't want just anyone on here, you know. But at the same time, I'm not trying to think too heavily about it either because like I'm the end like toll booth. So if something I don't like something, it just doesn't have to go out. I also really enjoyed. I really enjoy doing it. I'm also enjoying like learning from other people. So just the fact that someone who that I know personally is like, wow, you want me on your podcast, like that feeling of being like you think highly enough of me to put me on your show is like it's good to be able to give that feeling to someone that you know and that you respect. So that overall like journey of that plus the whole entire side of figuring out how to do all that audio shit is fucking terrible. I can curse, right? Like that was tedious figuring out how to edit and like doing the voices and then like I use Audacity, which is a free program, but even that took some work. Like my just thinking about it gets me all flared up.
Have you had to deal with a guest yet that either was speaking like complete nonsense or something not based on science or have you had to deal with that yet? Because we had to, and it's funny because Ryan and Tony, our other co-host, is so nice that they have to sort of like they have to contradict people very, very carefully the way they do it because they don't want to come off sounding too abrasive. Now, me, I will just straight up tell them that they're full of it, right? But Ryan just doesn't approach that. Well, I think there was one. There was.
We had a couple.
There was a couple that I once saw Ryan get his feathers ruffled, like a little bit, like, as much as Ryan will ever get his feathers ruffled. So, it was. Have you dealt with that yet?
I haven't. I'm actually I think I'm like 15 episodes in. So I haven't dealt with that yet. But you warned me of that on our interview. So like I'm like getting ready for it. Yeah. And that goes back to the whole like fire hose thing of like trying to tune it down some. So I'm hoping that I can like mitigate that as much as possible, but it's gonna happen regardless.
Sometimes you don't want to mitigate it, right? Sometimes you want a little controversy. You want a little of that.
Yeah, I think we've been on both ends. Like there are times where maybe we allow people to get away with saying a little too much, and then there are times where but at the same time, I think the challenge with fitness sometimes is if somebody kind of says they're, like, look, I'm not an expert in anything. I've been doing fitness for a long time, so I kind of like I'm a jack of all trades, a little bit of everything, but like I'm no expert in any one thing. So if somebody comes on and they kind of throw around some jargon and maybe use some pseudoscience here and there, but and you're not confident in your ability to contradict them, it can become a challenge because you want to challenge them and you know what they're saying is BS. But you don't quite have all the information, and you're interviewing them, so it's not like you can just go on and start researching stuff, and that becomes a bit of a challenge too. Is like trying to, when kind of intuitively you know it, but you know that they've heard it, and they're going to have a response, and you don't have the time to really. And
then on the flip side, you don't want to have something heavily researched, knowing that they're going to say something, so it sounds like you're trapping them.
Yeah.
Right. So this is give and take.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. But it's fun. It's fun. I'm sure you'll keep on enjoying it. So, Dom, where can everyone find you? Tell us where we can find the podcast, find you personally. What's the best way to reach you?
So,
tell us about your move as well.
Oh yeah. So, so I'm in the process of literally like in 3 days I currently live in New Jersey, and I'm moving out west to San Diego, California. Super excited about that. So anybody out there, feel free to hit me up and vibe with me, I guess, because it's all about the networks, not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
You can find me. So you can find me on Instagram at Dom Jackson Fit, all one word. I don't think I have to spell it. You can find
it's Dom with an M, right? Not
Dom with an M. Yes, Dom with an M. So yeah, it's DOM. Jackson like Michael. Fit. Oh no, it's Dom Jackson Fitness actually. I'm sorry. My Instagram is Dom Jackson Fitness. Maybe I should have spelled it. My Twitter is Dom Jackson Fit. I'm on there, but not nearly as active as my Instagram. You can find my podcast, the Fitness Fundamentals Podcast, here to take the fear out of fitness. I have the tagline in there. You can find that on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And I do episodes weekly. With the move, I'm going to have a little interlude. But definitely, if you follow me on either Insta, Twitter, or follow me on my podcast, DM me, hit me up if you have any questions. Definitely want to meet all you listeners out there. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. Awesome. Well, great having you on.
Yeah, Dom's a cool dude, and we wish him luck. I think in his move, and that's it's exciting, and I think it's a fun thing that you can do when you're a young person. Is just move out. You don't have too many things holding you back. So just go into the great wide open and do your thing. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, it was a fun episode, and a bonus one. So that's how we're gonna put it, so no one can yell at us about our rants, because it's a bonus episode.
I think people like our rants. Well, people have told us they like our rants.
Yeah,
maybe they're just being nice to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
will be interesting to see, but yeah, no, we're doing a bonus. So technically not a cheat meal though, since we did talk fitness. But yeah, we will do more of it. We will do an extra third.
You've been ranting a lot recently.
Yeah, I know. I've been more ranty and less caring, because I think it used to be more where I would let me, just fitness. But I kind of I don't care as much anymore. Not that I want to offend. I try not to offend anybody, but I'm not afraid. It's I'm less.
You say you don't care what people think.
Yeah, no, not that. It's that I feel like.
And I mean, you care what people think.
I care what people
you do,
think,
but not necessarily in terms.
But
of
I
your
don't
views.
care. I'm not. If somebody's gonna not listen because they're mad at me for an opinion, that doesn't bother me. Where I think it would have in the past. And not that I want to try to turn people off, because we're not. At the end of the day, we're not a politics podcast. But I used to shy more away from sharing my own opinions about stuff. Where I just don't have that in me as much. But again, I try to be reasonable, I try to be realistic, and I try I have my perspective, and again, we try to do it, I don't try to do it too much, but if it comes up, we didn't release it yet, but we have a little rant where we did we were talking about anti-vaxxers, and same thing. It was no, although if that's your belief,
with that, for me, something like that, I feel very strong. I know you feel very strongly, and as a fitness,
that's
and well-being podcast, relevant. I actually do feel it is our responsibility to discuss it.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely. So I think something like that, we actually have, not that we. Is legitimate content for the podcast, where maybe some of the political stuff isn't. Although you could always make that argument that it is, because we're at the end of the day, we're dealing with health and well-being, and economic distress is going to cause a lot of damage to your health.
I think that we did an episode on economic fitness, and I think it was our lowest rated episode of all time.
I mean, yeah, it depends. The titles are interesting, because some of you think, well, people will listen to it, and others, no. But yeah, well,
so just look, that's what it all comes down to, right? Just come up with a fun clickbait title, and what always works is just putting celebrities' names. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll just name celebrities in the title,
exactly.
and that'll work.
All right, well,
I shouldn't have mentioned that, because people will get wise to us now. But
exactly, we say a lot. We give up our trade secrets quite often. Yeah. In jest. All right. Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, leave us a review. Good. If you didn't like it, then
and good if you didn't like it, and good if you did like it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so good if you didn't like it, great if you liked it, and amazing if you hated it.
Exactly. Just leave us 5 stars. All right. Well, I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic, reminding you that truth does not sell.
And we are the Gymwits.